Hello, night owls. Welcome back to Adults After Dark, and welcome if this is your first time tuning in. This is where grown-up conversations take center stage, and no topic is off limits. This is grown folks talk. So why don't you send the children to another room? Put on your headphones, grab your favorite drink, because tonight we are discussing the different types of abuse and knowing the signs. This is just a reminder. This is an adult audio conversation, so there should be no children under the age of 21 listening. Also, be respectful to one another. You never know, you might just help someone out of a horrible situation. And as always, with these topics, I like to start with my own story. Okay, so here's my story. I was in an abusive relationship for many years. I stayed with this guy for like 14 years. I want to say like 14 years. I have been hit. I have been slapped. I have been punched on more occasions, more times than I can actually count. I was even left with a black eye and a busted lip. So at first, I thought I had done something wrong or said something wrong to cause his reaction. And I think that's what most of us would think when things like this happen. And I thought maybe I deserved it. But after a while, I sat back and I replayed the incident in my head, and I realized I didn't do anything. Nobody deserves this, and I know I didn't deserve it because I didn't do anything wrong. I didn't say anything wrong. And then I felt like I didn't have the voice to say what I wanted to say. I remember one day, my boyfriend, his cousin, and we were playing spades. And I didn't have the hand that he thought that I should have had, which didn't make no sense to me. But we know when you playing spades, whoever deal, you're dealt the hand that you're dealt. Anyway, I didn't make any books. So of course he got highly upset. He got mad. And he started calling me names. And then he slapped me. He slapped me in front of everybody. And I was like, did he really just do that? I was stunned. Now, that wasn't the first time. He has hit me before, but it was never in front of people. I remember there was one night I asked him if he would mind if I went down the hall to the neighbor's house. She was having a little party, a little get together. He jumped up in my face, called me a whore, and punched me in the eye. And the next morning, I had a black eye when I woke up. I remember another time where he had company over. He had this guy over that he used to like to play checkers with, and he was frying some chicken wings. And I said something small, just asking a question. I asked, why did he dip the wings in egg and milk? Now at the time, I didn't know that that makes the chicken more crunchy. You get that really good crunch. I didn't know that. He didn't respond. He kept doing what he was doing. And when the company left, he got up in my face and said, don't you ever embarrass me in front of people again. And then slapped me so hard that my lip hit my teeth and it started bleeding. I still have the scar on my lip. Y'all, I stayed with this man 14 years, and Again, I know you guys are asking, are you crazy? I wouldn't have stayed that long. I was young and dumb. I mean, that's no excuse, because nobody should ever be abused, man or woman. He cheated on me constantly. I remember one time we were at home. We were living together. We were at home, and he left out the room and went into the back room or something. And he had another woman in the back room. Now, I didn't know this. I found out because somebody rang the doorbell. And I was like, why is it taking him so long to answer the door? So I end up getting up, going to answer the door. And whoever it was, I think it was for him or somebody else, whatever. And I'm like, where is he at? So I walked down the hall, and I opened up one of the back bedroom doors. And the woman that lived across the street was standing there naked. She was standing there naked. And I looked at her and I started cursing. And so I went, now he wasn't in that room with her, but I went to one of the other rooms and I opened the door, and he was hiding behind the door with his pants down, exposed. I was livid. I was so livid. But then, y'all, I still stayed with this man even after all of that. And like I said, I was with him for 14 years. So out of 14 years, just think how many times I had been hit and slapped and all of that. And I don't know why I stayed. I have no idea why I stayed. You know, there were more moments like that, but those are the ones that really stick out, that I'll never forget. Later on in life, I faced a different kind of abuse with my husband, and this was verbal abuse. He would verbally abuse me during arguments. He'd call me fat, bald head, cockeyed. Every insult he could think of, he would call me every name under the sun but my name. And I'll be honest, I gave it back to him after a while. I throw words meant to cut deep, and I mean deep. The words that came out of my mouth was words worse than what he called me. And it's so crazy because I never apologized. Even to this day, I've never apologized, and neither did he. Now, when we get into an argument, I try to walk away, but sometimes it doesn't work. I try to ignore him, but it doesn't work. He would just keep talking, and then I feel that anger and that rage just rise up again, and then I let it out again. I know it's wrong. You know, two wrongs don't make it right. But I tried to walk away, but I think he did it on purpose. He just kept pushing those buttons that made me say the things that I said to him. So these days, when I feel it coming, I leave the room and I ignore him. And I mean, I ignore his every being. I may not talk to him for 2 or 3 days. We would walk through this house like we didn't even know each other or didn't even see each other. And I know that's wrong too, because you should not do this, act like that, especially with your spouse. But it's messy. It's imperfect, but I'm trying to get better at it. Now, I don't know if he's trying to get better, but I am. Right now we're at the stage where we barely talk to each other, and that shouldn't be. This is my spouse. We should be able to communicate whether it's good or bad, and we should be able to resolve those issues. like adults, but we don't. And again, here I am, but I'm in it because I believe in I believe in marriage. You know the word I'm trying to say, but I believe in marriage, and I'm trying to make it work. So, but before we move on, I have a story that I found online. But before we get into this young lady's story, we're going to go through the different types of abuse. Okay, so there are several forms of abuse, and recognize them can clearly save lives. Okay, so we have physical abuse, and physical abuse is defined as intentional bodily harm, which is slapping, pinching, choking, kicking, shoving, or restraining. And some of the signs you may see is like bruises, black eyes, welts, lacerations, broken bones, untreated injuries, or sudden change in behavior. Okay. Then we have SA. You all know what SA is. I don't know if that word is YouTube friendly, so we're just gonna say SA. Which is a non-consensual act. I'm not gonna say that word because we're on YouTube. Okay. Examples are unwanted touching, the R word, coerced nudity, or explicit photography. Some of the signs are bruises around the breast or the genital area, unexplained bleeding, torn underclothing, or sudden behavioral changes. Then we have emotional or psychological abuse, causes mental or emotional pain. Some of those examples are intimidation, threats, ridicule, isolation, yelling meant to control. Okay. Some of the signs are withdrawal, fear around certain people, nervousness, agitation, or depression. Then we also have financial or material exploitation, which is using someone's money or assets for personal gain. Examples are stealing, forging checks, or misusing accounts. Okay. Examples are unexplained withdrawals, missing valuables, unpaid bills despite available funds. Then we have neglect, failing to provide necessary for health and safety. Examples: withholding food, water, shelter, medicine, or hygiene. Some of the signs are malnutrition, poor hygiene, unsafe living conditions. Then we have self-neglect. Now, some of you may not know that self-neglect is a part of abuse. Okay, and that's when a person endangers their own well-being by not caring for themselves. And those signs are poor hygiene, unsafe living space, untreated medical conditions, or malnutrition. Okay, and then we have abandonment, leaving someone unable to care for themselves. Examples are leaving an elderly or disabled person alone without access to help or basic needs. Signs are report of being left alone, isolation, or sudden disappearance or of caregivers. So guys, if you know someone or see someone that have some of these signs and symptoms, speak up, talk to them, find out what's going on. If you can, Okay, there's help. Be sure to get them help, or like I say, sometimes people are afraid to say something, especially men. There are a lot of men out here that's being abused some kind of way. But a lot of people think that men are supposed to be strong and this should not be happening to them. There are a lot of them out here that refuse to say anything. But like I said, if you see these things, report it, okay? Or find a way to get the person away from them, away from the abuser if you can. It may not be possible, but try your best. So this lady, I don't know who she is, but I did find it online. I'm always online about everything. So this is her story, and it is regarding faith, friendship, and freedom. So she says, when I married the man I love, I never dreamed. Y'all, I'm sorry, my dog is sneezing. I'm sorry. She said, when I married the man I love, I never dreamed things would turn ugly the way they did. My husband was successful, charming, and the life of every party. But behind closed doors, things were different. And it's usually always behind closed doors. Like, they be out in public just the most loving thing, to their significant other. But once they get home, all hell breaks loose. So moving on, she says, after the birth of our first child, things slowly deteriorated into a nightmare of cruelty and coercive control. Eventually, I got out of there, but it wasn't easy, but I did. And it was my friends, the courageous, wise women around me who made all the difference. I saw God's grace through their words, actions, and presence. Y'all, do you remember that movie with Jennifer Lopez called Enough? This kind of reminds me of Enough. She was in an abusive relationship, and she actually did the right thing. She went to the police. She tried to get help. Police wouldn't listen. But she eventually got out, but she had to take matters into her own hands. Now, I do not recommend taking matters into your own hands the way that she did. Okay. But try to get help if you can. Okay. So, she says, here's what they look like. Number one, she listened. This is her friend. Her friend listened. Abuse isolates you. I didn't know how to tell anyone that. Even though I lived in a gated community and in a beautiful house, I had no access to money, not even $20. That my clothes were taken away, that his threats and mood swings made home unsafe. The first time I told my friend, she just listened for nearly 2 hours. Then she looked at me and said, "That's abuse." Hearing the truth shattered the silence and kept me trapped. So her friend recognized after listening to her and told her, you're being abused. The second thing she did, she reminded me of who God says I am. Now, me personally, I'm not a spiritual person. I'm not a religious person, so I don't normally talk anything like that, but I'm just going to read what she said. Now, some of these are in the testaments, but I'm not going to give you what the testaments are. But it just says, I am God's child. I can approach him with confidence, and I have not been given a spirit of fear, but of power and sound mind. So if you are a religious or spiritual person, you would know where those testaments came from. Okay. It says she printed those verses and gave them to me, and somehow they brought me back to myself. Number 3, she helped me make a plan. Leaving isn't easy. It can be dangerous. Most domestic assaults happening during separation, and 70% of domestic violence murders occur after a victim leaves. My friend connected me with the right support, attorneys, a shelter, advocates who knew how to protect me and my children. If anyone you know needs help, call the National Domestic Violence Hotline at 800-799-SAFE. That's 800-799-7233. They can connect you to the local shelters and resources. Number 4, when I thought leaving might cost me everything, my friend said, we're not going anywhere. That kind of love gave me courage I can't describe. So, in closing, abuse can happen anywhere. Every neighborhood, every income level, every church pew, man, woman, child, hell, animal, it can happen. It can be physical, it can be emotional, financial, verbal, or the S word. And it affects, like I said, men and women, and children, and animals. But healing actually starts with the truth. Okay. Someone has to listen. It has to be a loving person, reminding someone who they are, and when they've forgotten, let them know, hey, I'm here for you. And when you say, hey, I'm here for you, really mean that you're there for them, not in a bad way, but you are there to help them. Okay. So if you are listening to tonight's conversation and any of this sounds familiar to you, if you know this, if this is you, if it's someone you know, you're not alone. Okay, remember that you are not alone. I used to always say, so you know how when someone asks how you doing and how you feeling, I used to always say, well, not used to, but I always say, I'm good. You know, there are no complaints, because there's someone out there going through worse problems than I'm going through, and it really is. There's people out here that are homeless, no food, that are terminally ill. So my problems is light, you know, compared to some of those. So I always say I'm good, you know, no complaints. People out here with worse problems than I have. Okay, so, but anyway, know that you're not alone. Help is out there. Okay. Be honest. Okay. An honest conversation can help save your life or someone else's life. Okay. So leave your comments below. Share your thoughts, your experiences, your lessons. And if there's comments, we'll go through some of them before, you know, at the start of next week's episode. Like I said, you might help someone take their first steps to freedom. Okay. So that will be it for tonight's conversation. I really appreciate you guys joining Adults After Dark. Like I said, this is a judgment-free zone, so be respectful to everyone in the comments. If you leave a comment, like I said, we'll read some of them if there's any before the start of the next episode. Also, guys, if you have a grown folks topic that you would like to discuss on Adults After Dark, leave that in the comments as well. Okay, I will talk to you guys next week. Bye.